Hello. How you doing, Lid? Are we good? Can you see me? Hello. Excellent. Okay. Lovely. I cat giving me side eye. Fair enough, I guess. Like, what are you doing? Why have you spent the last 20 minutes fiddling? Because, dear child, the internet. My audio is up, so if you can't hear me, check your end. Hello, hello. Amber, can you hear me? I think I think my Wi-Fi just cut out, but it cut out for an extended period of time that made it hard to fix anything because there wasn't really anything to fix. But I think we're good now. Hear and hearing. Excellent. Oh, good. Thanks, anybody, whoever. Thank you. I did like, because Harmy's candle has been lit this whole time. This whole time. Yeah, it seems. Yeah, but I said, your candle's lit, Mr. Hermes, sir. Please and thank you. I would love it if you would fix the tech problem because the music was cutting out too. It's good. It's fine. We're here now. Everything's fine. And there's a cat. Look at this cat. Boy, look at the people. Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Amber. Yeah, Lid. There, I can't tell it to you. Can someone throw in the chat for? Well, I assume you know where the mute button is on YouTube. Uh, yeah, I don't know how to help with that. But yeah. Okay, hi. Anyway, how how is everybody else doing? Because this is yeah. That's what I was wondering. I was like, are there other? And you said I know I saw Sally's live, and I guess Emily's been going live on Thursdays. Is that her regular thing now? That's fine, but it just is like, is she also live? It makes no difference to me realistically, but yes, thank you. I was like, I'm not actually on YouTube to be able to tell you where to look to find the mute. Because I was like, I know where it's supposed to be, but I can't give specific instruction. Regardless, regular lol. Yeah, exactly. As are we all. We are all regular with our whatever we're trying to do. We do our best. Uh, you young man, young fluffy child, please settle. You can do whatever you like as long as you settle down a little bit. Okay? Okay. 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 That's cool. Regardless, it doesn't really matter. I was just curious. Okay. What did I even I had some stuff that I was like, I'll talk about this and I'll talk about this. Like I have some notes, and then I had things that I didn't put in the notes because I was just like, oh, I'll remember. And then I spent 20 minutes fixing the live. Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Uh, I never am like truly at the moment because I was like, well, okay. Like I was gonna chat for a minute before I got in because like part of this is gonna be a housekeeping stream, which is ironic given the everything of it all. It's like, oh, it'll be nice and tidy, and we'll start chatting, and then we'll get to the housekeeping part. So, uh, housekeeping portion starting now because whoever's here is whoever's gonna be here right now. Um, I am gonna like officially go down to one stream a week. I'm going to like formally, officially just do Thursdays. And we'll switch back and forth between like the crafty lives and the chatty lives, which again, those are not even technically their like official names, but it kind of also is at this point. I never came up with a better name, so those are their official names. But yeah, so I want to be, I would rather be consistent than like create huge volumes of content. So at least for the foreseeable future, I'm gonna be sticking to just Thursday lives. But they will be both types of live, just once a week. I think that's gonna be a lot more sustainable. I was thinking about everything, and I realized like it didn't even occur to me when I hit like the 1 year mark of Spirits in Training being a thing. So I've actually like it's been the inciting incident for Spirits in Training happened in September of 2023. And it didn't fully exist for another like month or two after that, I think. But hi, Christina. But yeah, so it just occurred to me, I was like, oh, it's been like a year and a half since like this thing started, and it's been almost a year of me doing lives as regularly as possible. Hear and sound, excellent. Yeah, so I was like, I started doing like the regular lives in like February, March, maybe April of 2023, but I think it was March technically when I started. So I was just like thinking about how to like clean things up and how to make it consistent, good. One of the things that I've been thinking about for a long time is, and this is one of the reasons that you guys don't end up seeing a lot of short form content from me, is because it's really difficult for me to get the nuance that I want to get in a video into short form in any way that would get any kind of traction on, like, get traction on the short form platforms. So the, like, we're, thank you. I never really talked about how this thing started, right? But, like, I know some of you, maybe all of you, have seen the video. Theron put it out a while ago, but of like the New Orleans trip. You can see me. It's so funny because it's only me like a year and a half ago, but to me it looks like me as baby. But that video and that whole incident was kind of like the inciting incident for Spirits in Training, because there was just so much weird spirit ethics and lack thereof in the experience that we all were there for and the videos about and everything. And, you know, both Rebecca and Theron made videos about it, talked about it, and it was a thing I had no need to discuss further for anybody because it was very well covered. But that was a thing that I was there for, and it was very upsetting to me in a very similar way that it was to everybody else, just in that, like, there was no respect, like, TLDR, if you haven't seen the video or haven't seen any of the follow-up content about it, there was this tour guide in New Orleans who was just being exploitative of the spirits and being really weird about everybody who was in the group and was there to, like, we were all there to be mediums and test our abilities and talk to each other as a community and everything, all of that kind of stuff, right? And he was just very not conducive to what we were trying to do. So, I know, right? Feels long and short at the same time. But, so that's the shortest version of that. But it just got me so riled up that I was like, people don't, like, normal people don't know that the way that that guy was running his stuff was just really problematic and really upsetting. At least to anybody who, like, gives a shit about spirits and wants, and, like, treats them as actual beings that existed. Yes. So it was just, it was this really bad but really formative thing that happened. And so that was the thing. That was, I was just like, I want to talk to people about spirit ethics and, like, just education around spirit communication, right? Like, there's a, you guys have seen me talk about it a million times. Like, it's it's the reason that this has, like, Spirits in Training, and, like, this has this whole very educational sort of almost lecture adjacent vibe to it, like informal lecture vibe to it, is because it was like the primary function of all of this that I'm trying to do is an education thing, right? And straight education does not perform well in short form content at all. Almost at all. Like, there are conditions, usually topical, like current events things, that will make certain types of educational content be way more, and if you're like somebody who's in this like edutainment space, like a Hank Green or somebody like that, then you've got it down to a science. Right? But for somebody who's talking about a relatively small niche like me, like, I'm so passionate about the stuff that I talk about, but it just doesn't capture people in a way that I can make good short form content about it. Normally, what happens is I try and I start, and one of two things happens. Either the video gets very long and less interesting, or the video gets very entertainment heavy and loses most of the messaging. Yeah, that kind of problem. So, as part of my housekeeping moment that we're having here, I'm really working on figuring out how to A, be more consistent for you guys, and B, like, make a better, more true to form product of what I was trying to make in the first place. So, given that I was originally going for spirit ethics and like education around spirit communication, I think I started to say this earlier. Like, you guys have heard me destigmatize a lot of like spirit communication stuff, right? And it's like, as long as you approach things with like open mind, respect, etc., have boundaries, have defenses, shields, etc., right? It's, as long as you have like these really basic levels of respect and protection, that's all you need for like strong ethical spirit communication, realistically. So what I'm gonna try to start doing, I've talked about, it is my intent to make some short form content out of the lives. But in order to do that, I'm probably going to need more time, being most likely, given how much time regular work takes and everything else, the time to work on other short form content or like medium form content, like actual proper YouTube videos, is probably going to be that Tuesday slot that I would normally be using for lives. So my intent and my plan here is switching to one live a week will hopefully make actual more substantial content more realistic for me to do, so that it's there for you guys. And the other thing is, especially in short form, like long form YouTube videos and stuff, you can be a little bit more niche because it's there forever and it's easier to find. But short form content, even when you search for it, like at a certain point, it just goes away. Like, there's just somebody else has done it again or done it better and gotten more views, and then your video gets buried, right? So if you're really trying to work towards an education model for other people to be like destigmatizing certain things and like promoting ethics in other things, it's just going to need to be something a little more substantial than I can really do on TikTok or Reels. So that's why I've really loved the live formats, right? Because I can like go in deep, and it may not be edited, but it's all of the content is there, and I can get my entire point across. So, enough rambling about that, but I'm going to be switching to one live a week so that I can make hopefully some better quality content, and I don't know that it'll be happening soon because it's just been crazy. Oh, thank you for the subscription. Yeah, I did see your comment, because I do totally agree with that. It's like, really, you do need like basic protection before anything else, honestly. But usually by the time you can consider being respectful, you've probably passed the protection point. But yeah, I 100% agree. So yeah, less live content will hopefully, over time, as I work out this model a little bit better, will mean more edited, like condensed content in the form of most likely YouTube videos, in addition to our one weekly live. So that's what I'm going for. That's my housekeeping. And yeah, so I do have much more to say about... I have a lot to say about... I love TikTok, and I know we all still have a little bit of a weird spot for it after everything that happened. And I think I hit a point where I started thinking about TikTok itself a little bit more critically. And I realized, and this is absolutely zero shade and like no ill intent towards anyone who does it this way, but like again, where what I want to do is provide educational content as much as possible in this very small niche space. TikTok is 90 to 95% entertainment. That's why, like, and again, and the algorithm changing so much, being a mess, and everything else, right, makes it really sticky and hard to hard to hold on to. So, I think YouTube is gonna be a much better medium for that. Most of the videos that anybody has seen that has gone viral on TikTok about spiritual stuff are all in the realm of entertainment first, and that's just not what I'm trying to do. So, it's I'm glad you guys agree. I appreciate that quite a lot. 'Cause it was one of the things like I knew I needed to do it regardless, but it's really helpful to like see you guys say that like it sounds promising and have your support. So thank you. But yeah, so I've just, like I said, I've just been thinking more critically about TikTok. I've been actually in deep. This is not spiritual at all, but it's still important to me at this particular moment. I've done that thing where you switch your phone to grayscale to try and like at least somewhat combat the like phone addiction dopamine hits from all the pretty colors and everything all the time. And that's actually, I've been doing that for the last 2 days, and it's been helping me a lot. So it's like, yeah, TikTok is absolutely, it's really hard to beat for engagement. You're so right. And that's what, like, I'm not giving up on short form, but it's not, I think I've been beating myself up over, I'm good and I'm comfortable with lives, and I love the community, and I love being able to interact directly with everybody. But I've been like having TikTok and short form content as my goal the entire time, which, like, after reflection, I've just realized is not what will most efficiently meet what I'm trying to actually do. So I can use TikTok for reach, and I can post shorter versions if I have like a YouTube video. I can post clips from a video or clips from a live and shorter forms of everything. The engagement will always be better on TikTok, and like, sorry, Reels and Shorts, you have little to no comparison to TikTok. Like, but yeah, so it's just, given all of that, and given what TikTok is for the good and the bad, and me for my own mental health trying to like, I already had a screen time limit on TikTok. I started thinking about it. I was like, realistically, probably nobody should be getting their like actual spiritual advice from TikTok. Like, hot take, I know. Whoa. But again, it's like, it's made for entertainment. Edutainment is a really like awesome niche that I have not perfected for my content yet. So if I get there, that's amazing. But yeah. So, yes. In this working with my own brain and my own goals for what I'm doing here, all the things like putting my phone in grayscale, and I do have an iPhone that has a little action button, and there's it's in the accessibility settings if you want to try it. Accessibility, and then like color modes or something, like display, color modes, grayscale. So I have it set so that I can switch back and forth my phone from, if there's something I need to see like for work or something that I need to see in color, I can just hold my action button thing and switch back into color mode, and then switch back to grayscale, so that when I am consuming content, I'm consuming information over visual stimulation. Like, there is still visual stuff happening, but it's less poppy and punchy. So it's really, yeah, exactly. Like, I can quit doom scrolling whenever I want to. And I'll tell you, it's a lot easier in grayscale. Again, I'm not necessarily saying you guys have to do this, right? But this is in my experience of, oh yeah, I literally the spiritual people who I follow on TikTok are mostly either like friends, acquaintances, or like there's like 2 or 3 that I follow that I like keep up with, that I'm fully just parasocial, I don't know them. Right? So it just occurred to me, I was like, I don't really get my spiritual information from TikTok. So I was already planning to focus more on YouTube, but just sort of housekeeping portion, I think, on a close here, but YouTube's going to fit my goals better and my ultimate desire for communication. And yeah, we can hopefully we'll get that engagement from TikTok, and maybe it'll still come on Reels, and maybe it'll come on Shorts. Like, you know, the video will already be on YouTube, so I'll post a short, right? Like, but ultimately, as much as I can, I am shifting focus to primarily YouTube. That's also like, because I think that was just a Wi-Fi issue that I was having earlier that like cut everything off, and it was a mess with trying to do the multi-streaming. I'm gonna keep trying to do the multi-streaming, but if that happens again, I might start to really just roll it in on just YouTube like lives, because my Wi-Fi is pretty good, but if it can't handle 2 lives at the same time, then it can't handle it, and so, you know, yeah, exactly. We'll build it, and they'll come. That is, again, talking shop a little bit on content creation, right? But like, and I say that as if I'm a professional, and it's not just like my side thing that I do because I enjoy it. But whenever somebody does go viral, it's like so disappointing when they don't have a backlog of interesting stuff, right? Like, even if they have a huge backlog of stuff, if it's not as good as the thing they went viral for, you may not follow them. You may or may not watch more than one other video, if you even went to their profile at all after they went viral, right? So I want to try to focus on quality and introduce higher quantity of sort of medium long form and higher quality of content overall, and hopefully not increase my workload too much, because I want to keep it as manageable as possible. That's fair. Instagram can be great for specific events. That's a really good point. I do like that. Maybe you got me thinking, Amber. You got me thinking about stuff. I'll start maybe working on it that way, thinking about it that way. But yeah. So, like I said, I think that's kind of the end of the housekeeping moment. I can keep rambling about like, I can keep going about content and spirituality and like the intersection, but like, there's a reason, right, that that as much as possible when I'm in these lives, like, I'll try to pick out a couple of books before the live, or I will like I'm referencing back to some like better researched, hopefully well written, but at least like written and recorded information that you can see what I'm seeing, right? Like, as much as possible, I grab a book when I have something to look at and talk about. And TikTok is not the place. TikTok is not the place where you grab the book. You might talk about the book. Book talk exists, but like, TikTok is not the place where you hold the book and you say, "This is the book. If you want to read cards, like not tarot cards but playing cards, this is the book that I use." You know. So you can see my source and you can see their sources in, like, you know, I've talked about this guy a million times. I love his stuff, Corey Hutcherson. But like, you can see, I think he has his sources listed in this one. He should. Yes, bibliography, like proper academic bibliography, like. So, as much as I can, not full of random inserted pages. Hey, some of my books are absolutely full of random inserted pages. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I cannot, this is a huge thing for everybody, right? But like, whether it was like your grimoire or your book of shadows, or like even my astrology journal, like whatever you want to call it, and whatever you're working on at the time, I can't keep it straight if I'm filling it in. That will be full of as many like inserts at the end, like stuff like this little guy. This little guy was not created to be spiritual in any way. He was created because I was bored working at a popsicle shop. But I love him, and he does have an energy to him and a vibe to him, and he exists on my little, like, magical ritual space, right? He is part of the my little ecosystem of magic shit, even though he was not created for magic stuff. So if I ever start working on another book, he might go in the book, and he might be the random inserted page. But just as much as possible, I want to have... and this is much bigger in the astrology community. Crystal Sophia is amazing with, like, keeping as many sources and things listed as possible. Like, astrologers love having their sources listed. And, like, a lot of, realistically, the people that you see me talk about, are usually the people who list their sources, right? Like, this guy, Corey Thomas Hutcherson, he's the one who has the podcast. It's called New World Witchery. He is, like... has a doctorate in folklore. He has written a much bigger, more substantial book about American folklore and everything. Um, Crystal and Sophia cites all their sources as much as possible. Like everything's somewhere. They have like book clubs for it and everything. Love that. I've talked before about Larusa Mystic. She's also somebody who like they list their sources whenever they can. They do. They used to be like an actual scientist in a professional setting, and so they incorporate as much of that into their magic and spirituality as they can. Right? Like, yeah, like magic sits for me in this really awesome crunchy place in between science and like imagination, creativity, all of it. So it's like as much as you can. I love having the receipts exactly. um, and like, and sometimes your receipts aren't that good. Oh, I will say another person who we love. Oh no, what's the new handle? Camden Maurer. Uh, Wells of Weird, is that the new handle he has? I think. He's also someone I reached out to him and we talked about rune stuff. I need to reach out to him again because that was a great conversation. And he was like, gave me lists of like the good rune sources and the bad rune sources. Like, so it's something that I really care about, and it's like that the little like picky academic-y side of my brain really loves is having the receipts and having it. So like when you have the information. It's the you gotta like know the rules before you break the rules, and like these are not necessarily rules, right? The stuff in the book is not necessarily rules, but and I will say I don't always cite my sources. I try to as much as I can, but some of it is because it's just channeled stuff, right? But like, just yeah, I am a full believer of the magic is just science we haven't discovered yet. Like I fully believe that because like. When you're at least magical energy, and like we haven't discovered how to interact with it in a scientific setting, in a like easily studyable setting. Another person I've mentioned before, really good book, Dean Radin, Dr. Dean Radin. He has a book called Real Magic that has some of the most awesome, compelling. I've gushed about this book in a live months ago, but like the most interesting, compelling, as scientific as possible. Trials and data and graphs and everything of like what's happening in these like magical spaces and these like attempts to engage with. I mean, he's his formal title is a parapsychologist, but he's working with these like metaphysical spiritual concepts in the most scientific way that we have any ability to handle. It's like another person that I find really like exceptional in this space of like that's an academic minded person doing academic trials for all of this stuff. Yeah, exactly. So all of these things, as much data as we get and as many books as we read and all that stuff, like realistically, when it comes down to you and what you're practicing, most of that doesn't matter. As long as you're being respectful, like you've got your protections up, not appropriating things that you're not supposed to be appropriating, like all of that stuff. Like right, disclaimer. But it's just these are the things that I'm like, yeah. I was thinking if I can find the list. I mean, if I have the list. I will try to remember to put some of the rune sources in the Discord. But yeah, it's just having as as stable of a base as possible and letting your mind like fly out from there. And Rebecca's talked about this. I'm sure other people have as well. I might have talked about it one time. The work that actors do, right, when they're studying a scene, is so similar to, like, it basically is channeling. And it's a weird thing because you are identifying as much information in the text of a play, like, or a script of whatever sort. You're identifying as much content that is in the text as possible to support your character choices. And you study the text and you learn who this character is. You do all these things of like considering how they move and everything else. And you start to get the energy of a character, or if you're not doing a character, if you're doing something like a stock character, like if you're not doing a scripted character, you just embody, you start to engage with the energy of the character. I feel called out as an actor. Hey, you know what? Never mind, you act however you want, but I will say, I was not the best, and I haven't acted in anything recently, and I was not the best at making all of my choices based on the text. But this is the theory, right? That you get as many backed up pieces to your practice and your information as possible. And then when you actually get out on stage, whether it's a rehearsal, a dress rehearsal, a like actual performance, whatever, you have to forget all that shit. You cannot be on stage. You can. It will be most likely a better performance if you have already done all the work, and when you're on stage, you're just in the scene, right? And you're just embodying the energy of the character. You're embodying the like, yeah, just the movement, the voice, the everything, the whatever, all of the work that you have put into it. At the point that you are performing, all of the subtext within the text, it's either there or it's not, right? And so I have a really strong like vindication. Is that I strongly believe that that's like the same with magic, right? Like at the point that you're doing a spell, you like you can look it up. You can stop what you're doing and look it up. But at the point that I'm doing a spell, when I am engaged in actively practicing magic, especially if I'm channeling, I'm not going to come out of that like sort of theta E space, or like the theta brainwave space, or the whatever, like however it is that I'm channeling, I'm not going to pull myself out of that to go and check like the big Cunningham book, Encyclopedia of Herbs or whatever, or the Buckland book or whatever. Like, you know, I'm not pulling myself out to go and double check my stuff at that point. At that point, I'm either using the Rosemary Thyme and Bay, or I'm not doing that. You know? At the point that I am engaged with the magic, I am engaged with the magic, and all of that back work has already been done. I've already gone through it, and I'm trusting that I am understanding and channeling and everything, that the primary intent that I started with, whatever cognitive process I put into that before I started doing the magic, and whatever things that I'm channeling while I'm doing the magic, I'm trusting that those are all working together to produce the final result, right? So, oh wait a minute, get cross-linking by using. Yeah, no, I got you. I did have. I know you said not important in this moment, but I saw it and I was like, I had to redo my link tree, and then it was kind of broken, and then it was like, so I might have to fully change link tree providers. I might just have to get a different link tree because I don't know what's going on with that one. I did try to fix it, but yeah, I think I was putting the YouTube in the link tree and then it broke or something. I don't know. It's fine, but yeah. So yeah, the actor is reacting in the moment. The homework needs to be under you. Exactly. Same with magic. You are in that moment of creativity and action and like passion and fire and whatever. like, and like whether or not it's fire. Maybe you are the kind of person where like your magic comes from this much more graceful flow, right? Like, and again, when you're in that like channeling action state of like combo magic and everything else, it kind of is the intersection of both, because you're not like hyper up, but you're deliberate and you're acting. Like I'm literally like, and this is why I like doing, whenever I do charge a sigil on a live, this is why I like showing that process, because to me the physical motions of your body and the physical engagement of your body are a really important part of the overall excuse me. To me, the physical engagement of your body is really important to the overall product of the magic. And that doesn't mean that moving your body differently than me produces a worse result. It doesn't mean that sitting there and not moving your body at all means there's not magic happening. But for me, that engagement and that process of like how the energy is moving as I'm moving is really important. And again, people talk all the time about how important breath is. It's the same thing, right? It's this full engagement with like the majority of your body. At the point that your breath is involved, your entire body is involved, right? Because everything in your body responds to how you are breathing, basically, right? Like not directly necessarily, but like you know what I mean. This is the, I'm not trying to say that like your foot's gonna get bigger if you change your breathing pattern, but you know what I mean, right? So it's just, it's very, all of this is very important to me, and like, not just, I want to be careful how I say this. As much as you can, some people have done the work for you, and engage with that. Process that, make your own judgments about it, because sometimes you won't agree. And maybe, like, I was talking in the Discord, right, about how, like, certain pantheons. I was talking in the Discord about how certain pantheons are just less cohesive to me and the work that I do, right? It's like, I don't really have an engagement with Mesopotamian deities. I have like really minor engagement with Egyptian deities. Like, it just happens every once in a while. It's not like an ongoing thing. So like, maybe somebody who has much more engagement in their practice and their magic with like those two pantheons might have a much more like might have a very different experience of how their magic moves through them and how they actively do it, right? And it's so funny because I'm like, I keep doing this kind of a thing, like I keep doing this kind of a thing as we're like shoving magic into something, and it's like, that's not even really how I do it, but it kind of is, right? It's all about, because I'm so visual with it, right? And I do want to make that distinction, right? I'm using clairvoyance as one of the major things that I'm engaging with to see what the energy is doing and how I need to change it. But yeah, like, I'm using that to see how I'm doing this and how I'm changing it. Also ignore my I have ADHD myself. My little cute panda bandage. It's technically a kid's band-aid, but I cut my thumb. This is not what I was trying to talk about. I just got so distracted by all of my movements and anyway, it's fine. Your magic is gonna happen differently anyway. Like, regardless of whether you use the same pantheon as somebody else, or regardless of whether your guides agree on what's important, or regardless of how much research you've done, you're doing magic when you're doing magic. You have to, like, this is what I was trying to say. Like, I'm really passionate about engaging with the world as, like, a magical experience. And that doesn't mean that my senses are always on. I will tell you, the last, like, week or 2 weeks, I've been so spiritually checked out. But that doesn't mean that I don't still believe that the world is magical and that I'm trying to, like, not just trying, I'm actively engaging with magic anytime I'm doing pretty much anything. Years ago, a friend of mine from college, we were having this conversation about everything, and just about our experiences of magic. It was technically post-college, but college friend, one of the people that I really started getting up into this stuff with. And we weren't having a debate, but we were having a conversation about the difference between all magic is mundane and all mundane things are magic. And I kind of agree with both of those things. But I will say, the one that I agree with a little bit more, and the one that I was arguing in that conversation, was that, like, all magic is mundane. And that doesn't mean that it's not magical. It's just, it's one of those things, like, you're getting so nitpicky in your phrasing here, right? That, like, I think we both meant pretty much almost exactly the same thing. But I'm just like, again, I drew that little bird. That little bird was not supposed to be a spiritual thing. He is now. That is part of my engagement with everything. Like, I don't know if I should go down this tangent right now, because I tend to go down the tangent about animism and how I am an animist, and that's, like, my primary thing. But then I always go down the same tangent. But regardless, I believe every single thing has some spirit to it, and it's like, It doesn't mean that I believe that everything is conscious enough even to have like a conversation or an exchange, but it has enough of something to it to engage with. You can engage with anything. Your mileage may vary. But that's part of my core belief system, that like everything has something in it that is a spark of magic and a spark of something happening in there, you know? And if it's something like, if it's this tree, if it's this chair that the chat is sitting on right now, that my computer is sitting on, the spirit of this chair came from like 5 different places. Because there's like, it's almost like an ancestral lineage thing, a little bit, right? Where the spirit of the chair is more than anything the spirit of the tree or trees that it came from. Given that this was almost certainly mass produced, I'm sure the wood from this probably came from however many parts there are, they're probably all different trees, right? But the spirit that is in this chair did come from those trees. It also came from like to it in the workshop when it was being built, or the factory, whatever. We're gonna romanticize this. We're gonna pretend this all came from one tree and was built, hand built by a craftsman. So the spirit that's in the chair now came from the tree that the wood came from. It was like modified and molded and changed in the shop that it was built in, and like, you know, the tools that touched it are part of everything that has happened to it, right? Like, I'm a big believer in my art brain, my art space. Every mark on a paper, every mark in clay, all of that all adds to what the thing ultimately becomes. And it doesn't matter if you end up smoothing it out, because if you didn't do that little movement, like, the specific things would not be in the specific spot that they are at the ultimate point of the project being done, right? So I feel like I'm getting maybe a little too in the weeds on my whole metaphor here, but also it's not a metaphor. I literally believe this, right? So I don't necessarily think what's left of the spirit of the tree that the wood came from, and that the influence that the shop and the tools and the things and the person there had on it, I don't necessarily believe that all those things are still there in such a tangible way that this chair is going to be able to talk to me the way that a ghost or a guide or anything else could. You know, like, it's not that serious, but it is there. And that's part of my engagement with the world as a magical place. And I'm just so passionate about that. So that's why anytime it comes up, I just go down the rabbit hole on this. Because it's like, again, it's the balancing act between the things that are as logical and everything as you can. Yes. The spirit of the tool. Yes. There's a... That was... I'm going to say I had an appropriate reaction to that. I couldn't remember. I knew that the Japanese had a word for it, too. I would have, honestly, when I was in Japan, I would have loved to have been able to, like, go, like, visit a craftsman somewhere. We were so heavy on, like, going and seeing all of the shrines and everything. But whenever I go back to Japan, I would love to, like, find a, like, sort of, like, semi-tourist friendly place where they, like, actually make things, and maybe they would talk about this. But yeah, in terms of what, like, Shinto as a religion would be considered an animistic religion. And animistic, this is a Western term that gets put on other things. This is part of colonialism. It's part of anthropology, and it's part of colonialism that we have dubbed this the term for this type of religion. But that aside, Shinto is a religion that would be considered animistic. So is the religion spirituality of the native Maori people in New Zealand. Like, most, like, Aboriginal things, most native spiritual practices from wherever you are, a lot of those would be considered animist. And that's, you can, the etymology of the word, like, animal, animistic, that gets it. You get into the crunchy, weird colonial part, right, where they're like calling them animals, but they're also like, it is what it is. The nomenclature is what it is. But the concepts are part of what make all this exciting and real for me. So, regardless, I'll roll it down a little bit here, but just seeing so it's Tsukumogami. I that's don't say it with that accent, but those are the the accent is bad, but that's the word. Tsukumogami. Yeah. Which yeah, I'm also still learning Japanese on Duolingo. So that's why I'm like, I know these things. Anyway. Regardless. Okay, water. But like you can see I'm really passionate about this, and giving that kind of like whether or not you guys who are here right now have heard me give that spiel before, I am really passionate about it. So just I love this shit, man. I love this shit. Okay. I know we're only at 45 minutes. I think I'm gonna start to wrap it up here. I did throw them in the chat, but how does Distraction Rock feel? I have a where is Distraction Rock? Just for the sake of it, Distraction Rock. Considering that I made this slide and I like haven't actually used it since I started doing this. No, don't focus on my face. Focus on the pretty rock. I will come back to it. I'll chat about it for a second, but look at the pretty. Okay, back to normal. But yeah, I was thinking about doing this for live at one point. iPhone has 20% battery left. Cool. I didn't know that it would give you a notification for that. That's very helpful. So that's also why I have to start wrapping up. Excuse me. But yeah, so I did think about giving some time in a live to sitting with crystals and telling you guys what they feel like. I'll keep it short for this one, but like, okay. Because this is what it would mostly be, right? It would be like me semi-meditating to like tap into everything. Because I haven't engaged super closely with this one, to be honest. I mostly just think this one's really pretty. I'm sure it's a jasper of some sort. I can kind of like feel... like it feels comparable to sandstone. Like I feel like I'm touching sandstone right now, which like it's not brittle enough to be that, but... makes me feel like it probably comes from a similar, like an area with a lot of sandstone, most likely. There's an element of stability to it in that same vein of like trees and tree roots, but it doesn't have the like life and energy that a tree has that you can kind of feel. Like it just has a different type of life to it, right? It feels like it's gentle, but stable. It almost feels like a well-made but really small boat, which I realize it's like a crazy that's an odd metaphor to use, or simile, but it does. Like, the way that I've talked about fluorite, and fluorite helps me focus, and I can almost, like, sort of feel the circuit board running through my brain and restructuring things and helping me direct focus. This almost has, like, a dampening, calming effect that's, like, if you look at that same, like, perspective of, like, everything shooting forward and shooting around, and instead, when you're talking about this, it's, like, much more sedated. So it's really, like... it's grounding, but it's not like hematite grounding or tourmaline grounding. Yeah, it's not like hematite grounding. It's more like tree grounding. It's stable, but it's not fixed. It's got some mobility to it while still being calming. And so yeah, there's our we'll leave it there. I could just keep giving descriptions of the energy of the rock, but yeah, regardless. Yeah. Okay, so Yeah, earthy, grounding, calming. It does have like it's a little bit of a heavier hand. Like it's literally heavier, right? It's a rock. But like it's not as delicately grounding and delicately calming. Like it's not the kind of calming you get from an amethyst, right? Like an amethyst that's calming is like amethyst is calming the way that lavender is calming, and don't come for me on this. This is almost calming in the way that like tobacco is calming. And I realize that tobacco is a stimulant. I understand, right? But like there's an element of like a moment of peace and pause that it comes. Maybe I don't mean tobacco. Maybe I mean like smoking a pipe or something. But like, or a cigar or something similar. But it's just like, yeah, this was, yeah. So it's calming in a very different way. Like this doesn't feel like new age music calming. It feels like folk music calming. There. That's a good way to put it. It doesn't feel like new age music calming. It feels like folk music calming. Anyway. Get your Mumford and Sons and your whiskey glass. And your pipe, apparently. I don't know. Don't smoke, kids, because I have so many young children watching me. Oh no. You get it. You get it. Yeah. I will, just because I said I'd come back to it. I was like, isn't Japanese a difficult language to learn because of the nuance? Yes, and I have not gotten to the nuance yet. That's fair. ADHD, ADD, and stimulants being calming. You make a really good point. You make a really good point. Maybe. So yeah, maybe. I think y'all get it. Y'all know. You know. It's fine. That was good. That got me. Yeah. Japanese is very nuanced, and I have not gotten to the portions of it that are nuanced. I'm sure that I don't know if my Japanese that I do know is too formal or if it's too casual. I don't know jack, but I know hiragana, katakana. I know various vocab words that may or may not be appropriate to use. Like I assume they're fine. Yeah, Japanese is hard. I know basic Japanese. So tangent over. I'll leave it there. But yes, Japanese is hard to learn. I did go back to Duolingo because I was like, I need to refresh my Spanish because I've been talking about Spanish so much and I love Spanish and I'm like, I need to refresh. And I tried to go to like unit 4 or something just to see like where I was at in like the placement and everything. And I almost got it, except that I didn't know the word for suitcase. And like I had a couple of grammatical errors. But like, so it was like, a couple grammatical errors, and then the last thing that made me not pass on like the second to last question was I didn't know the word for suitcase, and I was so mad because I was like, why would I? So regardless, that to say, I've been flip-flopping back and forth a little bit on Duolingo to try and refresh my Spanish and also keep learning Japanese. Anyway, Larimar, I know that one. I don't think I own any. But that does sound interesting. I will, I'm fully gonna pull up my notes sheet right now. Just... That's literally going in a work document. That is a document full of work notes with the word Larimar at the bottom. This is fair. That would be a much better way to get free Spanish lessons. You're right. Okay, regardless, for now, look, we made it to we made it to an hour. I was like, or we made it to 55 minutes, but I was like, we're at 45 minutes, but I'm gonna start winding down. And I was like, oh, tangents, rocks, Japanese, Spanish, heck yeah. Okay, so just to throw it out at the end, anybody who wasn't here, if there's anybody here now who wasn't here at the beginning, the housekeeping part of this is I'm switching to just Thursday streams, Thursday lives, and we'll be back and forthing between like sigilly stuff and creative and artsy stuff for the crafty lives and these kinds of chatty lives. So just for anybody who's here now that wasn't here before. Regardless, now, ooh, feels like a walk on the beach or something. That sounds so nice. Oh, that sounds so nice. It does. I think I have I think I've picked up Larimar before, because like I have a feeling associated with it, but I can't like remember what it looks like. Regardless, how did my phone go down from 20 to 10? Okay, I really do have to end this now. Then, if my phone is decreasing that quickly, lordy. Okay. So, anybody who wants to be included in the bibliomancy moment for the week, using our lovely Tao Te Ching here, translated by Stephen Addis and Stanley Lombardo, because it's my favorite translation, even though I have other copies. I just love this one. And I've seen this one in a lot of metaphysical shops, so it's got to be a popular one. I love it. Okay, so me rambling and stalling so that y'all can catch up to the actual feed on. Anyway, okay. I'm going to tune in. Anybody who's interested, give that general energetic affirmation of, yes, I want to be part of this reading, and we'll get something, a message for us for the next few days. This is passage 52. Solid start. The world has a source, the world's mother. Once you have the mother, you know the children, and once you know the children, return to the mother. Your body dies, there is no danger. Block the passage, bolt the gate, no strain until your life ends. Open the passage, take charge of things, no relief until your life ends. Seeing the small is called brightness. Maintaining gentleness is called strength. Use this brightness to return to the brightness. Don't cling to your body's woes, then you can learn endurance. Nice. That's a pithy one, and they're all pithy. And I didn't know what the word pithy meant until my dad kept using the word pithy repeatedly, and now it is ingrained in my brain what pithy means. Regardless, I've heard maybe one or two people in the world say the word pithy besides my father. Okay, I am going to read it through again because I do like to give that second reading just so you have a moment to digest. The world has a source, the world's mother. Once you know the mother, you know the children. Once you know the children, return to the mother. Your body dies, there is no danger. Block the passage, bolt the gate. No strain until your life ends. Open the passage, take charge of things, no relief until your life ends. Seeing the small is called brightness. Maintaining gentleness is called strength. Use this brightness to return to brightness. Don't cling to your body's woes, then you can learn endurance. So. Passage 52 out of the Tao Te Ching, everybody! Alright. My phone is apparently now on 5%. Normally it's charging via the computer, but I guess that it's not doing that right now, so I'm gonna hop off of here. But thank you guys so much for joining me. Thanks for chatting with me. I'll see you guys next Thursday. Have a good one, everybody. Goodbye.